and we're going to go through some simple solutions for practice problems. What I'm going to talk about first is simple solutions for practice payment problems, and what we can help you with, and some things that you can do on your own, just starting today, to increase your cash flow. So if we could go to the next slide, please. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Transworld systems, we are a cash flow management company. And Sikka and Transworld Systems partnered together a couple of years ago to create an integrated solution working with 99% of practice management systems. What Transworld Systems does is offers an optimized solution to an old problem. We have specific solutions for each type of debtor, and I'm going to explain those to you, and you'll recognize them right away in your own practice. We transition from first-party reminders to third-party collection demands, and I'll explain that as well. We automate your AR process. We offer that for a fixed fee, and we create the appropriate level of urgency. So here's what we're going to teach you how to do on today's call. Next slide, please. We are going to teach you how to decrease the number of accounts requiring collections. Wouldn't that be nice? And avoid the last paid on the list syndrome. We're also going to talk about how to strategically time your collection efforts to maximize your results. It really does matter when you send those next statements, those next notices, and then how to employ the right collection activities to positively impact the cash flow in your business. So before we get into those specifics, I want to talk about the different kinds of payers that you're going to see in your practice. We'll look at those on the next slide. And I'm sure you recognize these silhouettes. We have the reliable, distracted, disrespectful, and professional debtor. Why do they pay? The reliable payer, we wish we had a practice full of these people. They pay on the first statement. They're always current. They're fantastic. They get their checkups twice a year. Their teeth are great. We love them. Then we have our distracted patients. They have the best of intentions, but they just get distracted, right? And why they pay, they need a second or maybe a third reminder to pay. Then we have a few of what we call the disrespectful payers in our practice. And those we end up on the last paid on the list syndrome with our disrespectful patients. And they require a third-party impact. So that's when you start introducing your collections efforts. And then we have the professional debtors. That should say professional debtors, not collectors under that. And why they pay is they need a professional collector to get the money from them for the services that are rendered. So if we click forward one more slide, or one more animation, we'll see that the good news is that 90% of the people in our practice are in the first two categories. If we want to advance one mouse click. There we go. So that you'll see that statistic, 90% of all the dental patients fall into the first two categories. So that's good news for our cash flow. So let's move forward to the next slide. Traditional approach challenges to collections. Your patients may not care, right? They may be distracted, and we'll just keep going through these pretty quickly. I know you guys will see these in your office. It's expensive to collect on past due accounts. The responses decrease over time. The longer it goes before they pay, the less the likelihood is of them paying. There's no cap on time or money spent on follow-up. So you have a person or several people in your office that are billing and billing and billing. It's tough to create a level of urgency. And what we want to do is we want to decrease the number of accounts requiring collections. So we're going to get into some of the how-tos that we talked about on that checkmark slide. Now's the perfect time to convince your patients to catch up on their outstanding accounts. This kind of ends up in the, oh, we'll get around to it, or, you know, we have great relationships with our patients and we understand that they might be in a tough time. We need to set our businesses first. And so there's a few things that we can do to decrease the number of accounts requiring collections. First and foremost is review your credit policies. If that needs to be updated, go ahead and do that. And as people come into the office for their checkups, make sure they sign the updated credit policy. You can eliminate your terms or establish terms if your terms are kind of all over the place and you have different exceptions for different people, just tighten those up. You could offer a cash discount to incentivize payment sooner. Establish a collection policy, and that's part of your credit policy. You can utilize a collection agency to take this off of your plate. And one question I want to ask for the group, I don't know if we have the ability in this webinar, is does your practice utilize a collection agency? You don't have to respond right now, but if not, I want you to think about why you haven't and what you might gain from doing that. So let's go on to the next slide. How to avoid the last paid on the list syndrome. This is tough for our service providers because you provide the time of service, you provide a service, the fee is incurred, you bill the insurance, and then whatever's left over, when you bill the patient, it could be 30 days, 45 days, maybe more since they've been in your office. And then depending on what your terms are, they've got another 30 days before they pay that. The service that they experienced could be 2 or 3 months old by the time they're getting that bill. And it gets put to the bottom of the pile. And it gets put to the bottom of the pile. And it gets put to the bottom of the pile. So we don't want to do that. We're going to go back one slide. One more. If we could click back one more slide. All right. So you want to strategically time your collection efforts to maximize your results. So after day 30, you're going to start sending diplomatic contacts at a measured frequency over several weeks. So this is going to increase the urgency. Instead of doing your billing once every 30 days or even further out, you want to systematically contact them. Just put them into the queue and they go right after 30 days. Include term reminders. If you do not have these on your statements, take a look at them right now and let them know, add them to your statements or your invoices. And then provide an online payment option. This is really easy to do in this day and age. Put a URL, make sure your mailing address or your billing office phone number are available on your statement so your patients can call and make their payments right away. So if we go on to the next slide, after 60 days, you want to start outsourcing your payment request to a third party that can follow up on your 30-day steps. So if we could go forward one mouse click, and we're going to be on the after day 60 slide. Kevin or Mark, if you're over there. So VJ, are the slides advancing on your end? Because on my screen they are not.
Hi, Angie. We were experiencing a little bit of audio technical difficulties. We apologize for that, but we are back now.
Oh, and, good.
Yeah, so let us know if the slides are advancing correctly.
Well, where we should be is the after day 60 slide.
Okay, fantastic. We'll go there now.
Great. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So after day 60, you want to outsource your payment request to a third party who can follow up on your 30-day steps. Why? This frees up your staff time, and it also increases the sense of urgency. This gets your distracted and your disrespectful payers to get current on their balances, and it also will help maintain your valued relationship if you are not letting it drag on and on and on. You've worked hard to build your practice and the people that come in, and you want to take your business side of your business seriously. So what you want to think about, we'll look at the next slide, is that your accounts are depreciating. The longer an account goes unpaid, the less likely the patient is to pay that balance. So the sooner you take action, the sooner you're going to get paid. Your cash flow will be better too. So let's look at the next slide. To employ the right collection activities, you want to establish a payment and collection policy. If you haven't updated this in a while or you don't have one, you can go ahead and print one out. There are plenty online. There are some available on our website and at transworldsystems.com. And have your patients sign that when they come in. Take action sooner rather than later. Be very upfront with it. Change their attitude by having those direct conversations, and then know and comply with the collection laws. There are a lot of laws, state laws, federal laws that you should be aware of, and any collection agency that you're working with should also be aware of. So let's look at the next slide. All right. When you're trying to get paid, organizations and the general public are going to prioritize who they pay. That's just the way it goes. So you want to aggressively pursue your money, or your patients will pay those that do. And at the end of the year, if you have bad debt write-offs, IRS justification sometimes requires that there's a third-party pursuit of monies owed to the organization to reduce the risk of audit. And then you want to systematically and diplomatically contact your patients. So let's wrap this up. We'll look at the nuggets of what we learned. So how are you going to decrease the number of accounts requiring collections? You're going to review your credit policies. You're going to eliminate terms or solidify your terms if they've gotten too long. Offer a cash discount, establish a collection policy, and utilize a collection agency. Let's look at a few more. To avoid the last paid on the list syndrome, ask for payment upfront, accept credit cards, and take a firm stance on what your billing terms are. Next one. Strategically time collection efforts to maximize your results. This is really important. Systematically and diplomatically contact your patients. Include those term reminders and make sure to make it easy for them to pay. Some people are paying their bills in the middle of the night and your office is closed, so a URL would be a great way for them to make it easy to pay. And let's look at the last one. Employ the right collection activities to positively impact your business. So establish a payment and collection policy. Take action on the policy that you put in place. Change their attitude about being current with their bills. Be very upfront and direct. People like that a lot better. And know and comply with the collection laws. If you don't know the collection laws, make sure the collection agency that you are working with is very familiar with them. Let's move on. So thank you for your time this morning. I'm going to send it over to VJ, but at the end of our call, we're going to send out a thank you email that's going to have a dental industry white paper and a collection agency checklist that's going to show you how to evaluate a collection agency should you decide to use one. So thanks for your time. VJ, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Angie, thank you very much. And everyone, I just want you to know that I now have the pleasure of working with Transworld for approximately 4 years. My wife, as you know, is a dentist, and in her practice she uses Transworld. And so besides having a first-hand experience working with Transworld, I also can tell you that more than 4,800 practices are currently using Transworld and Sikka software solution combined, which completely automates the process that Angie just now described to you. So it's a great win-win. It's one of the most economical and highest value return on investment opportunities that's available in the market today. So thanks again, Angie. Great job. I really appreciate it. So once again, thanks everyone who has joined us this morning. I am going to discuss with you and talk to you about how to maximize profitability and optimize your practice. Now, I'm not going to be talking about a specific product, but I'm going to talk about key performance indicators that matter to your practice. So improving line of sight to patients and profitability is really the focus of the next 25 minutes of this webinar. Just a quick background about me. I'm a dedicated dental spouse, as I mentioned, married to a dentist, and my wife has practiced in San Jose area for nearly 20 years. I have spent more than 22 years in software, worked in Intel Corporation, National Institutes of Health, projects related to healthcare informatics, and I wrote a book on return on investment. Sikka Software as a company is actually more than 8 years old now. This is a slightly older slide. We are 10,500 installations and over 15,000 providers. We are focused on business optimization and business intelligence. And our partners and customers include American Dental Association, Dentsply, Dental Economics, Henry Schein, Transworld, as clearly you know because of our webinar today, and the most prestigious names in the dental industry. This is part of my team here in our Silicon Valley headquarters. And I'm really proud that we have a very nice install base which is reflected in the major population densities across the United States. So I am going through these slides in a little bit quicker fashion because I wanted to give you a context of what is it that we do. If anybody would like a copy of these slides, we are very happy to send them to you. My colleague will type the information in the information box, the email that you can send an email to and get these slides. And just to tell you on the phone, it's info@sikkasoftware.com. So what you see in front of you is a list of all the different practice management systems that are out there in the dental market. As you can see, Dentrix, SoftDent, EagleSoft, EasyDental, Mogo, PracticeWorks, you name it. There is so many combinations, so many versions, and these are all awesome systems. These are great systems. They do a great job at helping you track your patients and keep your schedules going and file your insurance claims. But these are transactional systems. And there are many versions of these systems running around. Our program, both Transworld and Sikka, can seamlessly read from all these practice management systems. So we start where they stop. Let's look at the latest trends, and the latest trends really are driven by what Dental Economics is talking about, by fee schedules. So if you look at the January issue of Dental Economics, it has a wonderful article by Sikka Software, and it talks about fee optimization and why it is important to align your fee schedules so that your profitability can be maximized. I wanted to share some real-time data with you. So just to give you an example of how fee schedules in the United States are changing. If you look at the cost of living and median income, you will see that median income and fee schedules are kind of following each other. And in some cases, they go down. So Mojave, California, for example, saw a dip in one certain procedure code fee schedules, whereas Milpitas, California saw a smaller dip, and Santa Ana, California saw an increase in fee schedules. So what's really going on here is that it's a constant update of fee schedules throughout the country by zip code. So if you are using a fee table, they are averaging you out. You cannot use a fee table. There are companies which do fee tables, and I have a lot of respect for what they do. However, they really have a very small data set. They have only about 1,800 dentists, and they look at geo zip codes, and then they have multipliers where they will say that if you're in Kansas, it's multiplying by 1.0, and then if you're in San Diego, all of your fee schedules are multiplied for all procedures are multiplied by 1.1. That's not how you should do it. We have real-time data down to 5-digit zip codes, and we are happy to provide that fee table for you just for participating in this webinar absolutely free. So you just need to send an email to info@sikkasoftware.com, and we'll give you real-time fee schedules for your zip code down to 5-digit zip codes. So what's a KPI? KPI is key performance indicator. Now, if you follow and track your KPIs, you're really solving half of your management problems, because measurement is half of management, and that helps you maximize your profitability. So to give you an idea of our 10,500 installations, we are distributed fairly nicely across all the different population demographics as well as the practice demographics. So 12% of our practices make less than $250,000, and 12% of them make $1.5 to $2 million. Half of them make less than $750,000 in a year. So this gives you an idea that our practice, Sikka practice distribution is fairly consistent with the United States practice distribution. With that, let me actually share with you what are the most clicked KPIs in the country. Accounts receivable vital signs is the #1 KPI that dentists want to know. And no wonder Transworld and Sikka have partnered together to bring you the finest solution in accounts receivable and collection. Gross production by provider is the next most clicked KPI. Adjusted production by provider is the third one. Practice vital signs, adult prophy recall, and this rounds off by fees in your region and number of new patients by referral source. These are the top 10 KPIs that dentists and office managers care about the most in practices. Now, isn't that a very useful piece of information? How much we always guess these things, but the point is that Sikka software is tracking all of this, and we are able to share this with you because we are providing you tools which help you optimize your practice. So 10%, more than 10%, almost 11% of all of our customers click on accounts receivable vital signs. And this kind of gives you a breakdown of how that flows. Now, let's continue on, and I'll share with you a few more details about the KPIs. So we saw this KPI, accounts receivable vital signs. Now we are going to go to reports. What reports do doctors and office managers like to see the most? Guess what? Morning meeting report. Most of our practices do a morning huddle. And that's #1 report when it comes to which reports are viewed. That's followed by our tracker report, trend analysis, hygiene reports, monthly practice details, and yearly adjusted production and collection. And then comes the yearly new patients. So you can see how practices are using the available information to them. Now, I'll give you an example. People talk about, sometimes that they're too busy, or they have, if you really look at your hygiene schedule, sometimes the problems are not that you are under-optimized. Sometimes the problems are that you are saturated. I'll give you an example of this. If your hygiene schedule, if your hygienist is more than 70% busy over the next 12 weeks, you've got a problem. You've got to add another hygienist. Why? Because your hygienist being more than 70% busy is removing the chances of the hygienist taking the time to do more scaling root plannings, more perio maintenance, and larger procedures. If you are more than 50% busy over the next 8 weeks, you've got to hire an associate. Why? That's because if you are that busy, you will generally tend to do just the drilling and filling. You'll just do the simple procedures. You'll be focused on what is tactical. You will not take half a day and figure out how you can deliver a $50,000 full mouth makeover to your patient, which sometimes could be the best, most profitable opportunity. You cannot take larger procedures up because you are so busy. So you really need to think about these things. Another one, if more than half of your emergency patients are existing patients, guess where the problem is? So if I show up in your practice, and if I am an existing patient, and I show up as an emergency patient, that just means that I'm not following my recare. I'm not following my hygiene. I'm not following my regular checkups. And that's another issue. Similarly, if your new patients are scheduled over a week out, that's a problem. Why is that a problem? Well, if I'm a new patient, and if I call your practice and if I am told that, hey, doctor is really busy, there's no way that they can see you this week, come back next week, what am I going to do? I'll go to a different dentist, right? So you want to make sure that you have opportunity open for your new patient. That's practice saturation. Notice how it is different from the under optimization problem. So you want to be monitoring both of these situations. Are you overextended? Is there an opportunity to add an associate? Is there an opportunity to add another hygienist? Is there an opportunity to add another operatory? Do you want to expand and buy or build a newer practice? Those are the kind of questions that you need to be answering with this particular KPI. So let's keep going, and I will share with you a couple more details about this. I'm going to take a quick pause here just to get a gauge on if there are any questions. Okay, so let's keep going. So Practice Optimizer. Practice Optimizer is a product which is in use for the last 8 years, and we have never seen a practice make less than $50,000 increase as a direct result of using Practice Optimizer. So if you are not using Practice Optimizer, I recommend that you do. And I will share something else. Again, remember, I'm married to a dentist, and I have personally seen Practice Optimizer and patient homepage change the way my wife's practice works and her profitability, and how she has grown her practice 25% every year for the last several years. And that's because of using these tools. And I'm going to share with you some of those tools. Now, if you would like to do these using pencil and a paper and an Excel spreadsheet, I'm okay with that. Sikka software will be happy to provide you all the formulae that you need so that you can do it yourself. But you know what? If you're spending even 5 minutes to analyze your reports in a day, 5 minutes, you're actually paying more than $24,000 in your time to do this analysis. So think about it. It's really worth getting automation and optimizer products. So what does optimize mean? Optimize means to make as perfect, effective, or functional as possible. One of the angles of optimization is fee schedules, fee optimization. So what I say is you need to customize your fees not just to the zip code, but how you practice. And what does that entail? That includes 3 things. Your data, how do you practice, where do you practice, what procedure codes, frequency, revenue, current fees, time units you take in doing your procedures, what are your costs, what are your lab costs, salaries, procedure level costs, supplies, all that. And then the network data. Network data is where are your competitors, other dentists practicing in your area, or they may be in different areas, but they're offering similar services. So you need to bring these 3 things together to optimize your fees and maximize your profits. So it's not about where you practice, but it's about how you practice. And that's really the key. So we are tracking real-time benchmarking information, and one of the things that I would love to share with you is how our databases are showing practices which start from scratch. So if you have just bought a practice, it's really worth using the Practice Optimizer and the Fee Optimizer and the Transworld Accounts Recovery, the Dental Collect solution, because that really helps you stay on top of your game. I'm going to take a quick pause because it seems that there is a question that we can possibly answer. So the question was, does this information and fee optimization work with all the practice management systems? The answer is yes. It works seamlessly without requiring you to enter any data. Transworld solutions work right on top of the Sikka platform, and they also work seamlessly. You don't have to re-enter any information into your a portal. It will automatically connect with all of your practice patients who owe you money over 30 days or 45 days or 60 days or 90 days. So let's look at rich real-time benchmarking information. We are going to just cycle through some of these slides really quick so that you can see how the gross production, hygienist gross production, full mouth x-rays, patient visits, collections are tracking over time, and treatment plans. So what am I showing you here? Let me stop here at this slide, and I'll share with you what I'm showing you here. I'm showing you how different states over the first 36 months, so dentists who started from scratch, how do their practices grow over 36 months, that's 3 years, in different states in the country. And that comes out for all of these different procedure code categories. So direct restorations is an example. Indirect restorations, you can see how they grow. Gross production per comprehensive exam. Now let's stop here for a second and let me show you. Gross production per comprehensive exam. Every time you do a comprehensive exam on that patient, you identify treatments and you have certain production. So if we were tracking this, and if we were tracking how much do you produce per comprehensive exam, it gives you a good idea of where you are and where your peer group is. So Florida, for example, has amongst the lowest gross production per comprehensive exam, whereas California has close to the highest. But notice an interesting trend. Some of the practices which started from scratch in Louisiana and Tennessee actually grew gross production per comprehensive exam over the period of time. So these are the interesting things that you can notice in these kind of data plots. So now I'm going to switch gear and I'll share with you something along the lines of what Angie was talking about from a patient perspective. Now, what we are going to look at is how do you streamline your relationship with your patient? Is your patient a raving fan? There are 4 categories of patients. There are patients who are absolutely in love with you and in love with your service. Notice the 2 axes here, service and product and relationship. If your patients love you and if they love the service and product that you provided, they're in the top right-hand side quadrant. If they love you enough, but they didn't like the service or product that you provided, they'll give you a second chance. If they don't love you, if they don't like to be in your practice, but you're the only one who is giving them that service, they will run away as soon as somebody else offers that service. And the final category is the worst category. They are the ones who don't love you and they didn't like the service or product that you provided. They'll tell 10 others that they really hated the service that you provided. And that's the key. Do you know what Yelp was when it got started? It was really about complaining. It was yell and help. And that's really what was the reason why they called it Yelp. So Yelp, today we like to look at all the positive comments that we are getting on Yelp, but Yelp was really invented to let people vent their negative comments. And subversive people will find Yelp first and tell everyone about the fact that they were unhappy with your service and product. So now, do you think all patients stay in the same category throughout their lifetime with you in your practice? No. Every procedure that you do, they are moving in these different quadrants. So you need to really track this. And one of the best ways in which you can track this is a relationship matrix. Remember, relationship is worth more than price, service, delivery, and quality. Relationship is the most important thing. Customer loyalty is priceless. Customer satisfaction is worthless. This is a good book by Jeffrey Gitomer. You should get it. That's the name of it. Customer satisfaction is worthless. Customer loyalty is priceless. So why do patients leave the practice? Patients leave the practice because of three major reasons. They relocate, they die, or they basically have something happened in your practice which they did not like and they just don't want to come back. Only 1% leave because of fee schedules. So please understand, optimizing your fees is the number one thing that you should do in your practice. The way to really enhance the patient relationship is through a patient portal. And yes, Sikka software does have a patient portal. It's called as patient homepage, and it's a third of what any other company would charge you. Plus, it's a ultimate reminder system. It helps you connect with your patients through a two-way patient portal, which is HIPAA and high-tech compliant and secure, and it helps you fill and connect with your patients, let them schedule, pay bill, look at their insurance balances, treatment plans, look at their PHI and all that. So there are plenty of intuitive features inside the patient homepage for return on investment for marketing. It does all the text messaging and email communications and all that. Plus, it helps you with some other features inside the practice. So people then say, you know, I can do all of this stuff with my practice management system. And I'll say the following. The difference really is, the difference between what we do and what the practice management systems do is like having a wooden dog and a real dog. You know, it's about really what love, what value, what return on investment can you get from it. Sikka software products are focused on helping you maximize your return on investment. And you know, it helps you track things like this: gross production per comprehensive exam, which I shared with you earlier, X-rays to comprehensive exams. It helps you track your practice and maximize the value in your practice. It seems that there is a question, so I'm going to take a quick pause and see if there is a question. So the question is, can the Sikka platform pull cell phone numbers into the accounts receivable and collections process of Transworld? The answer is yes, it can. What we will do is we'll investigate your specific case and find out how we can help you out with that. That's an excellent question. My team members will actually take that as a follow-up. Now, the answer to your question in general is yes, patient homepage, Practice Optimizer can actually pull cell phones and send text messages and emails. And we will connect with you specifically on how the Transworld information can utilize the cell phones. We'll wait for another 10 seconds to see if there is another question. Okay, so let's continue on. Patients reappointed to patients visited. These are the kind of things that you should be tracking. Figure out where your practice is when it comes to how many patients are being reappointed from those which are visiting you. In summary, remember, patients and profitability are two sides of the same coin. Today, I spoke about optimizer, I spoke about profitability in your practice, fee optimization, marketing ROI, insurance rating, and I also spoke about patients and need to connect with patients through patient portals and patient behavior. We, Sikka Software and Transworld, together focus on these two issues. They are the two sides of the same coin. Real-time data and benchmarking is always available to help you maximize profitability. Lot of information is available on our website and it is free. You can visit www.sikkasoftware.com and you can get lots of information for absolutely free from our website. You should use fee optimization and understand your practice KPIs. You should use patient portals to streamline communication with your patients. And at any time, if we can help you analyze your practice, if you embark on this journey yourself, if you are not a customer of ours, we are still available to help you maximize your profitability. And with that, I'm going to take a quick pause and thank Angie for organizing this. Thank Kevin Lindemann from my team to organize this webinar, Maria, as well as Mark Lee, who are all here with me. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate the opportunity